Listen up. I'm going to tell you why I am completely obsessed with Brunt. I've worn a lot of work boots in my life, and I'll tell you this, before Brunt, my feet were destroyed. I could not wait to get my work boots off. Then, I tried a pair of Brunt boots. Let me tell you, it was relaxing. Right out of the box, these things were ready to go. There was no break-in. There was no blisters. Right away, they fit so we could work. Comfort meets protection, meets durability, all in one. And these are not just any boots. These babies are built for the job site. Slip resistant, heat resistant, waterproof. They got it all. They are even electrical hazard rated. Whether you're rocking the Marin with its 6-inch soft toe, total powerhouse, or the Omen, lightweight, water resistant with all the features you need. I'm telling you, you're gonna get boots as comfortable as your sneakers, but as durable as real work requires. Over 500,000 folks have already joined the Brunt crew, trying them on the job risk-free with free shipping. Guys, check them out, but don't wait, because they're going fast for the holidays, and the holidays are right around the corner. Limited edition styles are dropping all month, and they're gonna sell fast. Treat yourself or the hardworking man in your life to something built to last. And hey, all my listeners get $10 off using code Chael at checkout. That's bruntworkwear.com. Use code Chael to get $10 off. Get yours today and let them know the bad guy sent you. Merab versus Petr Yan. Aljo came out. He said I had the first 3 rounds for Merab. I've heard a lot of people say that. That is not news to me. I watched this surrounded with people, right? We all had our own experiences, but I wasn't alone. A lot of times I am when I watch a fight. I had a whole bunch of people. So there was some real group thought involved where people are, yeah, hey, who had that round? Who'd you have? How come? And then there was even experts. There was fighters and whatnot in the room. And 3-0 Merab going into the 4th is not... The first time I heard 3-0 Merab going into the 4th is not when Aljo just said it. God, there's got to be an easier way to say that. At any rate, it was an interesting match for a lot of reasons. I mean, there's a day-old question. Matt Hughes used to do this, and Matt Hughes would call timeout. Lots. I can't remember how many times he did it, but I wouldn't remember it if it was once, and I wouldn't call it lots if it was twice. It was a minimum of 3 times, but it was more like 4 or 5, and Matt Hughes would call timeout, and 100% of the time the referee would give it to him. The reason that's a problem, there is no timeouts in our sport. That's the entire point, is to make the other guy need a break, want to stop, say mercy. So something used to happen, and Matt would call timeout, and I understood it so well because it would always be on the feet. He would back away, he would turn, he would say timeout. That's what, as a wrestler, Matt Hughes, that's how we would do it in the practice room, exactly like that. You'd back away just to get a little distance, you'd call timeout so the opponent knew to not track you down. At any rate, each and every time that Matt Hughes did that, he should have lost the match. Per the rules. They should have stopped the match and the other guy wins. And Matt Hughes was world champion a lot of times when he was doing this. And there was people that were arguing going, I don't want to make a big fuss about this, but he called timeout in a sport that doesn't have timeouts. He's saying stop. I'm hurt. I can't go on in this moment. Okay. And I bring that just because old thought, and a lot of people that know how to test it, and then you've also got to have like a level of reasonableness in the room. Even though the rules don't call for that, it does get overshadowed with a level of reasonableness to where we all understood it's okay, Matt got flicked, give him a second. Opponent's not screaming foul ball, Matt's side wasn't ready to be done, a little bit of a confusion, fine. But this did get tested over the years. There was a gentleman fighting in the PFL roughly 2 years ago. And he got a splinter. A splinter went into his toe. And he's fighting, he's on his feet, he comes out to fight, he looks down, he sees this splinter, so he needs a timeout. He just wants to pull, he just wants to get that splinter out. And the referees telling him, I can't stop it. The fight has started. I can't stop it, or at least if I do stop it, I can't restart it. And the guy called timeout, and the guy called timeout. The ref stopped it, gave him his timeout, but it also concluded the contest. Several times over the years, particularly in grappling matches from my own experience, a guy has yelled out in pain, and the match has been stopped. There wasn't a tap, but that's called a verbal tap. The guy cried out in some level of pain. I'm just bringing this to you because there are so many things that happened in that fight, not to mention the times that Merab yelled out. Now, I saw Petr Yan kick him. That shot to the body, and it was almost like a teep, except it came round. Teeps generally are straight on. And this came round, except he hit him just with his toes, dug it right into his ribs. And Daniel Cormier was telling me that Merab yelled out. He yelled out. If that's accurate, why was the fight not stopped? If we have a verbal submission, there's nowhere in the rule, and I can tell you, there's nowhere in the rules that says you have to be touching him when he cries out. It would just say that he cries out, not to mention that would clearly be from pain. Why wasn't the fight stopped? Daniel told me it didn't just happen twice, it happened 3 times. I didn't see this. I was not privy to this. Daniel is right there cageside. He said 3 different times Yan did something to Merab, and Merab cried out in pain. Why wasn't the fight stopped? There was times that had to do with fence grabs. And there was warnings and stop doing that. But there wasn't a point taken. Why not? And now we're told that some people even thought that Merab had lost the first, or rather had won the first 3 rounds. And I'm also not hearing enough conversation on the back end that we're going to get those guys back in there and we're going to go to a trilogy. And a true trilogy is a very big deal in our sport. Not a third fight. A true trilogy, which means you're going into fight number 3 and you have mixed results in fight number 1 and 2. And it doesn't feel like we're going in that direction. Now, it's only been a few days, and everybody everybody has the right to get their strategies together, make their best argument as to who should get an opportunity, where we should be. It just feels like there's a lot on that fight. I mean, if you got a former world champion in Aljo, and he's saying they didn't even get the score right. As a matter of fact, the math is already against Petr Yan just going into championship rounds. I think that's interesting. I think there was a lot of interesting things that happened in that match. I think there's a lot to learn from watching that match. And now maybe it comes down to how do you score a fight. I had Yan. I thought that Yan had won 4 out of 5 rounds, and my prediction was the judges would give him 3 out of the 5 rounds, even though I thought that he won 4. This is what I thought I saw. But it is interesting what Daniel's saying, that Merab is yelling out in pain. That's interesting to me. I've never really loved the idea of the verbal submission. This is just me personally. I've never completely loved it. Because to yell is something we do in sport when we're just trying to go harder. I don't really love it. You got a professional, if he's going to yell, he can yell the word tap. Or he can tap. I've never been in love with the idea that he just does something audible, but I can tell you it is there. It has been called a number of times, and there is nothing that says you have to be engaged. So when Yan kicked him, and Merab yelled out loud enough for Daniel Cormier wearing a headset to hear him multiple times. It's a simple question. I'm not dwelling on it. I just want the answer. I like to know things. I like to learn things. Why wasn't the fight stopped?